Good morning, students. Today we are going to deal with the last chapter of Vistas, that is Ivan's tries and O level. So first of all, I would like to tell you about the introduction of the writer Colin Dexter. Okay, Ivan's tries and O level is a play dealing with crime and punishment. Dealing with crime and punishment. James Roderick Evans, the protagonist, is a jailbird. He is quite a pleasant sort of chat, an amusing person who is good at imitations. He is not a violent sort of person, but just a congenial lepnomatic. He is a clever planner. He is a clever planner and has already escaped from prison 3 times. Now he is taking O-level examination in German on Tuesday at June. All precautions have been taken to see that O-level German examination in prison arranged for the prisoners. Evans does not provide him any means to escape from the Oxford prison. As we go through the play, we find that the criminals are one step ahead of the jail authorities. Evans makes elaborate arrangement and waits patiently from September to June to execute his plan to escape. The revelations fill us with the surprise. Who has the last laugh, the governor or Evans? Okay, guys, let us go through the summary. Evans was put in the Oxford prison at Carfax for his criminal records, including the 3 times jailbreak that he had successfully committed. Anyway, we do not exactly know what were the charges against him. It is most likely he was the master brain of a gang of robbers or was just a one-man robber who was greatly skilled at impersonating other people, thus made an income out of that. However, London police had no other choice than putting him in the most secure Oxford prison, where jailbreaks were not at all common. Evans was aware of it. Seeing that he was in all sense trapped for life, Evans made a new plan to escape, and it was very complicated, and it involved many people at the same time. In the first week in the jail, Evans requested the governor of the jail that he was genuinely interested in learning some German lessons to acquire a sort of academic degree. Suspicious as he always was, the governor arranged a German tutor for Evans and watched how things proceeded. With a microphone hidden in the study room or in his cell where Evans took classes, the governor waited to hear if Evans would ask the tutor to help him. And it so happened, but no one knew how Evans managed to do such a risky thing when he was being monitored. Probably Evans communicated with the tutor through a letter which he was asked to read silently. It was believed it was what Evans wrote: Mr. Tutor, don't raise your voice on reading this letter. I have requested for German tuition with an entirely different purpose. You have been called to act like a meditator with my friends. You will carry similar message to my friends and help me escape this prison, for which I will pay you more than you can count. After reading the letter, the tutor must have smiled and agreed. For Evans was so charming personality. At the end of the 6 months coaching, the tutor informed the governor that his student was ready for an ordinary level examination or O-level examination. Suspicious as always, the governor contacted the examination board and arranged an O-level exam for Evans. The board contacted St. Mary Max Church and requested respected Stuart McLeary to go to the prison to invigilate the exam. The parson agreed and began his preparation for the exam. The day of the examination approached. Reverend McLeary was getting ready to go to the prison early in the morning when 2 of Evans' friends came to visit him. They ganged and tied the person while one of them dressed himself as McLeary. After half an hour, they went out. One of them as Stuart McLeary. At the same time, at the prison officer Jackson, a newly appointed or especially appointed officer, Mr. Stephens, were making sure if Evans had any potential weapon to make a jailbreak during the exam. Evans had put on a bobble hat and had not shaved. Inside the hat, he had hidden his makeup stuff for his escape plan, and he delayed shaving for the smart purpose of keeping its blade with him. Thus, while giving the razor back to Stephens in the most artificial haste, Evans took out its blade. When Jackson ordered him to remove that hat, Evans requested the kind-hearted officer Mr. Jackson to let him keep it, as he considered the cap to be his lucky charm. Well, Jackson was always like that. He was full of sympathy, and the hat was full of Evans' needed for transformation. It was already 9 a.m. when the invigilator reached the prison. He was shown his way into Evans' cell, and the exam was about to start. But the governor felt something wrong. He asked Jackson to get the person frisked. Accordingly, it was done, and the officer confiscated a pair of scissors that the person had brought with him. Well, it was for Evans. Having done so, they went on frisking and searching till they found that the person. Do not forget that it was Evans' friend who made himself up as a person, had got a semi-inflated rubber tube in his briefcase. On inquiring the reason for which the tube was brought, the person replied that it was a cure for his extremely painful disease of piles. It means to say that when the inspector or the police officer investigated about that semi-swollen rubber, then he told that I am suffered from the piles, so I am having this tube. Having made a decent person disclose a secret in such a shameful manner, the two officers felt embarrassed. They did not want to search anymore. The person was allowed to resume his seat. The exam began. Three men, Evans to write the exam, the person to invigilate Evans, and Stephens to keep watch. At the start of the examination, Evans had to get rid of officer Stephens and get a covering for himself. These he required because he was not going to write any German O-level examination. He was only going to make himself as the person who had come to invigilate him. Height for height, beard for beard, dress for dress, and accent for accent to create confusion in the prison once the exam was over. Okay, means to say Stephens was standing in the cell. So Evans said that how can it be possible for me to write when you are having the gun over my head, on my neck? How can I write? How can I concentrate on my examination? So it was ordered by the governor that perhaps we are overdoing. So please come out of the cell. And Evans wanted this because the man, the invigilator McLeary, was not really McLeary. He was his friend, and he came disguising himself like the McLeary, and he has brought many things, okay, to change the appearance of Evans. Okay, yes. These he required because he was not going to write any German O-level. He was only going to make himself as the person who had come to invigilate him. Height to height, height for height, beard for beard, dress for dress, and accent for accent to create confusion in the prison once the exam was over. By complaining it was extremely cold inside and he was not able to concentrate in his examination because of Stephens, Evans managed to get a blanket for him and get Stephens out of the cell. Exam began in full swing. The invigilator remained reading his magazine. Stephens went up and down to the corridor. The governor himself listened the loudspeaker that caught conversation from Evans' cell, and Jackson kept a watch all the rest. Keeping a pen between his lips, Evans observed Stephens' position in the corridor with the help of the shining, bulbous head of pen. Okay. The closer Stephens came, the Dimmer was the brightness and the pen head. Well, there remains only just 5 more minutes for the examination to call off. And Evans and his friend the invigilator did all that was part of plan. Evans trimmed his long hair with a razor blade and put on extra pair of clerical dress, kajak, front collar, etc. Means to say, when 5 minutes was remaining, Evans has totally changed himself, disguising like McLaren. The closer Stephens came, the dimmer was okay. Yes. Uh, uh, yes. Stephens was more than excited. He was feeling proud of himself because governor has asked him to go and see off McLeary. Stephens attended the cell well. It was not the governor who talked to him, nor was Jackson who yelled from the other end. Excitement brings wise men to unforgivable errors. As per call, Stephens carried out the governor's orders, took the invigilator from the cell and led him out of the prison, and once again returned to Evans' cell. To make sure that he was really there, looking through the peephole, Stephens saw the most unbelievable sight in his life. The invigilator, not Evans, inside the cell. The invigilator was lying inside the cell, but not Evans. Even you believed that. No, guys, truth is sometimes stranger than fiction. Underline this. Evans was still inside and his friend, the dupe invigilator, was out. My dear students, here I would like to tell the man who has gone outside, it was invigilator, not Evans. Evans was inside the cell. Okay, in utter disbelief, Stephens called for Jackson, and in no time the entire prison was roused. Officer rushed to Evans' cell and saw the tortured person. Tortured person means wounded. Okay, and the poor invigilator, all bleeding and weak. If you remember the rubber tube that the invigilator had brought, you can now guess how Evans was bleeding. Well, everyone reached the one and only conclusion: Evans escaped after beating the person and befooling Stephens. Okay, governor had by this time called the detective Carter to find the escaped prisoner, and in no time the famous detective arrived and offered to help the governor. He got a vague idea about the state of the affairs, was ready to run out to the escaped prisoner, when the bleeding invigilator made an unusual offer to help the police and the detective. He said that he knew where Evans could be found. That made a sense. If person, especially one beaten and dying, offered to help the police, there was some sense. The governor allowed the person to accompany the detective officer, and together they went to the latter's car. What was Evans doing? He had a good chance to escape from the prison, but he did not now. He is planning to knock the detective down and escape. Back in the prison, the governor abused Jackson and Stephens as much as until he was a little less dejected. Okay, having despised them, he examined Evans' cell and got hold of very important evidence to find Evans. It was the correction slip that Evans so foolishly left behind. It had hidden message written on its back. Evans was heading to Newbury, so the correction slip was a part of Evans' plan. Okay, heavens, but the plan backfired. The very smart Evans made a mistake, so the governor contacted the detective for updates and was told that he had spotted Evans twice. Governor could not believe that. He believed the correction slip and decided to reach the Golden Lion Hotel, Newbury, before Evans got there. In the meanwhile, the governor was informed that the person was admitted at Radcliffe Hospital under emergency. So far good, but when the governor contacted the ambulance section, he was told that the ambulance could not locate. Okay, a bleeding person, as was told Detective Carter, gone. With no clues about the disappearance of the person, the governor telephoned Mary Max, okay, where the person lives, and then after the governor come to know that McCleary was tied on the chair in his bachelor chamber. McCleary was tied in his bachelor chamber. Okay, he was excited. Poor Evans. It took him 6 months to arrange everything, but now he was running into a trouble again. Now, knowing how his correction slip had deceived him, he reached the hotel, made a special order at the reception, and got into his room. He locked the door and moved to the bed and rest and sleep. But you got it. Sitting in the bed was the governor, laughing and beaming with the pride. Okay, when Evans reached in his room of hotel, hotel's room, he find that governor was already sitting in the room. Okay, and okay, and governor started laughing. Don't try anything, Evans said he, and Evans was not in any mood to try. He has tried enough. But now he was defeated. He sat down on the floor, and this sign of defeated thrilled the governor. You can imagine him giving orders to the police and traffic department to stop searching for Evans. Then the governor walked down to the prison vehicles parked outside, and Evans followed. Evans was handcuffed. On the way, the governor asked Evans to explain how he managed to get the blood and all the other makeup and all the makeup things in the jail, in the prison, in the cell. Evans had his humble answer. Still accepting his defeat, Evans was handcuffed with a prison officer and was taken to the prison van. The van moved, and the governor followed it with an ebbing heart, imagining the consequent honor and aware in getting the smartest prison in the world. Evans escaped. The prison officers in the van were Evans' friend disguised. An overconfident governor had never anticipated this, and he would soon learn that it was a part of Evans' plan that he left the correction slip in the cell and walked into the hotel room, clearly knowing that the governor was waiting for him. So in this way, we have seen that once again Evans was successful in escaping. From the jail. He has very well planned, and you have seen, my guys, that from the starting Evans was having a very good plan. Evans was a very clever fellow, and the teacher who was coming to teach him in the prison was his friend. Okay, and Evans has requested from the governor for an academic education in German O level. Okay, and when the teaching was over, the governor consulted from the secretary of the board and asked that how they will manage the examination. Then the secretary said that I will send some invigilator, okay, from any church. There are so many churches, I will send. And the name of McCleary was mentioned. Okay, and McCleary reached to the prison, and he was totally frisked. He was totally searched out. There was a paper knife that was taken by Stephens, and he was having a rubber tube. And officer Stephens asked about the rubber tube. Why, sir, you have brought this? Then he told that I have brought it because I am suffered from the piles, so I am unable to sit properly, so I have brought it. And examination started. Stephens was standing in the cell, but Evans opposed it, that how can it be possible for me to concentrate on my examination when you are having gun on my head? Then after, governor asked Stephens to come out of the cell. Okay, but time to time Stephens peeped from the hole what was going on, and Evans requested that it is very cold in this cell, so I want to cover myself with the blanket, and he covered himself. Okay, and when 5 minutes remaining, everything was exchanged, and there was a call for Jackson, and from the governor, and governor told to Jackson that Jackson, you have to go and see up McCleary at the main gate. Okay, and he went and see up to McCleary at the main gate. He was having a slight doubt when he was with the McCleary that perhaps he has gone slim, and his accent was changed. Okay, but he was a person, so he has not. Person means the father of church. Okay, he has not said anything. And when he returned to D wing, he wanted to go for a cup of coffee because he wanted to go for a cup of coffee because he was already late for that, but he thought that I would like to see once again to Evans. And when he peeped, he found that McClary was lying, and the blood was dropping from his head, and his beard became red, and his white clothes became red. Then after, he informed about this to Jackson, to the governor. Okay, and within short time the sirens started rising in the prison, and all the prison officers come to know about this. Okay, at that time Carter came, and Carter, the detective officer, wanted to help to the governor, and McClary, who was totally wet with the blood, he said that, sir, I can help you, I know where Evans has gone. Okay, where Evans has gone. But the governor said that, go and bring this man to the hospital, take this man to the hospital. Okay, and he was taken to the hospital, and now the governor started rebuking, scolding to Jackson and Stephens, and said that, who the idiot have called you? And Jackson said that, it is you, sir, you have called me, means to say, here Evans has played a trick to befool the prison officers as well as to the governor, and he has made one mistake, that he left his paper, correction slip. Okay, and by that the governor come to know where Evans has gone, and Evans has booked a room in a Golden Lions hotel, and he ate some fish and some delicious food, and then after he went on walking, and when he came again in his room, opened the room and found that the governor was already sitting in his room. Okay, and governor said that, Mr. Evans, don't try to escape or to do anything, because you have been gathered by all around. Okay, you have been gathered by all around. Don't try to escape from here, Mr. Evans. Okay, and when Evans became normal, governor asked that, where you have found that much blood and false beard. Then after he told that, I was having false beard in my hat, and I was having a razor, and the invigilator has brought a dress of person for me. Okay, and the semi-swollen tube, in the semi-swollen tube, there was a solid blood, and when you mix nitrate in it, it started melting, and that I have used. Okay, the governor said, very clever, but now some mistake is made by the criminals. Always some mistake is made by the criminal. This is the reason that they are inside the jail. Okay, and governor ordered to his police officer to bring the man to the Oxford prison, and he was handcuffed. Okay, and the governor went in his car, and the handcuffed Evans came and sat in the van, and when he reached at some distance, his handcuff was opened, means he was made free once again. Okay, and once again Evans was able to escape from the grasp of the governor. Okay, thank you and have a nice day. Okay, we will explain line to line in our next lecture. This was the summary. Please go through the summary and try to understand the philosophy that is given in this chapter. Okay guys, thank you.